everyone, Esther once again here and welcome back to Kenya Explain. Now in my previous video, I had mentioned that I am going to talk about the issues that are in the BBI report. Once again, welcome. And I thought I should start off with the executive because I feel the executive has things that we totally can relate to, and it's also very interesting for me. So straight to it. The BBI report recommends that the president should be elected through universal suffrage. Universal suffrage means one man, one vote, and he is to get 50% plus one of the total votes and at least 25% of votes in at least half of the counties. So this is something that has been there, that's still in our system and is still being carried forward into the BBI report if it's going to be passed into law. And then another thing that you can note that is going to be passed on into the BBI report is that the president term still remains a 2-term limit, with each term consisting of 5 years. That is something that is there and is still going to be there in the new BBI report. And then something that is still constant also is that the president will remain head of state and government and commander-in-chief, and then he will chair cabinet, and cabinet will comprise of the deputy president, the prime minister, and the cabinet ministers. And then also the president has to choose his deputy president, who will be his running mate. He has to nominate him, and the role of the deputy president will be to deputize the president. Yes. And now going to the appointment of the prime minister. The president will appoint the prime minister. The prime minister has to be a member of parliament. That means he has to be chosen by the people to represent the people in parliament, and then later on chosen by the president from the parliament. Now, this person has to have approval by members of parliament because he has to come from the majority party, or he has to have the most support from the MPs. And now, if they don't approve of the president's nomination, then this process goes on and on until they find this person that has been nominated by the president and approved by parliament. His dismissal is that he can be dismissed by the president, or he can be dismissed by a vote of no confidence by the parliament also. The BBI also recommends the need of a strong official opposition. Now, the official opposition shall be the coalition of parties that are not in government. And the runners-up of the election shall become an ex-officio member of parliament. And then it also recommends the need of a shadow cabinet. And the role of the shadow cabinet shall be to challenge the government's position in parliament. Now, the opposition will play a key role in question and answer time in parliament. Question and answer time in parliament is an opportunity for members of parliament to question government ministries about matters in which they're responsible. Now, this is going to be the work of the opposition party in that question and answer time in parliament. The next thing I'm going to mention is the role of the prime minister. Now, the prime minister is going to be the leader of government business in parliament. The prime minister shall also supervise and execute day-to-day government activities, and he's going to perform matters in which the president shall direct, and he is also going to chair cabinet subcommittees. Now, there's a technical thing that I came across. The permanent secretaries or principal secretaries will not be subject to parliamentary approval to avoid politicization of the public service. So the principal or permanent secretary in the office of the prime minister is the one who will chair technical implementation committee of PSS, so that the accountability can be strictly administrative and technical, because you have to remember that some of the cabinet ministers are going to be chosen from parliament. The cabinet in the Building Bridges Initiative reports, the president shall appoint cabinet ministers after consultation with the prime minister. Cabinet will be drawn from parliament and technocrats, who shall be made ex officio, and technocrats are non-political. And then the CS position, which is cabinet secretary, will be renamed to cabinet ministers. And then there will be introduction of position of minister of state, who shall be appointed from the member of parliament with no salary, and he will take direction in cabinet minister duties. Now, the minister of state, his or her role will be to ensure the flow of political and parliamentary accountability. Now, apart from the executive, there were also other recommendations that the steering committee came up with. And number one, I will go straight into them, was that they recommended that the government undertakes initiatives that harmonize modern Kenyan identity. And this they saw could be done by strengthening the Ministry of Culture and Heritage and replacing Boxing Day with National Culture Day, where Kenyans can know about other cultures. And this can also be done on January 1st. So this all this is to help Kenyans identify themselves and be comfortable in their own skin. Number two, they also recommended that we should have an evolving and inclusive official history where we can know where we're coming from and where we are going to help us blend more with our culture. And the president should commission an official history of Kenya, whose production will be led by an office of the historian resident in the National Archives. Number three, there was a recommendation on a full-time focus on ethics to go about the problem of corruption. And the ethics mandates they recommended should be redirected from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, and it should be under the office of the president. And then there's also a recommendation of teaching ethics as a compulsory subject in schools, in the school curriculum, to help solve and go about the major issue of corruption in our country. And number four, they also recommended that procurement of goods and services should be transparent and within strict adherence. There should be availability of payment for goods and services being procured with the government. This is also to go about corruption. So the government, they recommend that the government comes up with a policy that guidelines lending to priority sectors. Priority sectors include small and medium enterprises, micro businesses, and sectors like agriculture, manufacturing, health, and housing, big four agenda first, and then sanitation. So the priority sectors that the government should lend first to before it lends to other areas. The BBI report also touches on the problem of youth unemployment and unproductivity and gives the following recommendations to help deal with it. Number one, it recommends introduction of a youth committee. Number two, it recommends giving youth-owned enterprises a 7-year tax break and to establish incubation centers, which will help support in entrepreneurship and job creation. A tax holiday is a situation where the said institution gives its business a break from tax from the period of time it started its business. Number three, it recommends replacement of private betting with government-run national lottery. And number four, it recommends helping young people to form businesses. So it's going to open an advice desk in Huduma centers that will be manned by business development experts who will be able to train the youth and sharpen their entrepreneurship skills. It also recommends giving HELB loanees a grace period of 4 years from the date of the completion of their studies. Now, on the question of tax also, another recommendation on tax is that it recommends a tax policy that looks at tax as an incentive to production and consumption and eliminates double taxation at national and county level. So it recommends a situation where people would not have to be taxed at national and county level. The other notable concerns in the BBI report include as follows, as I'm mentioning. Number one, in the legislature, all the existing 290 constituencies will be saved and 70 extra members will be added to cater for the populous constituencies. Number two, Senate will increase to 94, with each county being represented by both genders. Number 3, there will be no nominated members in the Senate. Number 4, the women representative position will be scrapped off in the BBI report. Another thing to note is that number 6, it recommends increasing resources to counties by 35% from 15%, using a formula on ensuring services reach actual settlements. Number 7, the BBI report recommends to finalize transfer of functions from national to county to eliminate duplicity of functions between the two levels of government. It also recommends transfer of health sector personnel from county governments to an independent health service commission to enable sharing of limited health sectors. The BBI report also recommends the devolving of political parties to have strong county-based party branches. The BBI report also recommends expanding marginalized groups to include Kenyans in urban and peri-urban and informal settlements for equal share in national revenues. Also recommends eliminating all sitting allowances for public officers that are on salary. Also recommends that Nairobi should be given a special status because it is a host of the global UN headquarters, United Nations headquarters, and the special status of Nairobi should allow the national government means to provide services and facilitation necessary to maintain it as a capital city and a diplomatic hub. The Building Bridges Initiative report also recommends revising of the Ndegwa Commission, which includes banning all public officers from doing business with government, making all wealth declaration forms open to public scrutiny, rewarding 5% of recovered proceeds to any corruption whistleblowers, and making Kenya 100% e-service by digitizing all government services. The other recommendation in the BBI report is to strengthen the process of responding to complaints in the judiciary by introducing the Office of the Judiciary Ombudsman. The Ombudsman Office is an office where the public is allowed to make complaints where they feel they have been treated unfairly by government providers, government public service providers. The BBI report also recommends that the National Intelligence Service should vet applicants to public offices. It also recommends introduction of Baraza la Washauri, which will be a private non-salaried council presidential advisory team. The BBI report also recommends introduction of a mental health institution where the task force identified mental health as a matter of increasing concerns in Kenya and recommended a special task force to be formed to find solution on making mental health care accessible. I am more than delighted to have come to the end of my small analysis of the BBI report. It has been comprehensive and bulky and not so easy, but thank you for being with me in this journey. We are done with the BBI report. I would appreciate if you left your comments at the comment section, anything to note, any questions, anything to add on. Let us interact and join me in my next video at Kenya Explained, where we are going to talk about anything that is happening in Kenya and how that is our business. So until then, see you, stay safe, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Bye bye.